This is Aaron Golub, host of the Blind Ambition podcast. We'll be bringing you world-class leaders, entrepreneurs, and athletes, people who have overcome obstacles and used their ambition to create enormous success in their lives. If you enjoy this podcast, if you get anything out of it, the only thing I'll ever ask is that you subscribe, rate, and review. Hope you enjoy. What's up, everyone? Today we have an awesome guest, Brent Shaw. Brent, thanks so much for being here with me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, give us a little bit about your background. I know that you're a coach, you're a well-known researcher in the stem cell field, and you have a lot of dreams in going into the medical field as well and becoming a doctor. Give us a little background on yourself, your upbringing, and really what led you to dive down this path of research in medicine and coaching.
Yeah, so ever since I was a kid, I felt like I was going to be a doctor. It was like one of those things that I was good at science. My parents wanted me a doctor. I thought I wanted to be a doctor, but I never really knew why. I thought, I'm from LA, huge Laker fan. I thought I'd be sitting next to Gary Vitti, who's famous athletic trainer on the Lakers, on the sideline, taping Kobe up, doing all these injury management in the game. I'd be at the Staples Center. And thought, oh man, if someone gets injured, they're just gonna call me off the bench too. Like this, I'm gonna have this crazy life. But I didn't really know why, and that's obviously not what a doctor is all about. So going into my junior year of college, I had nothing on my resume. I just thought, oh, I'm gonna be a doctor. It's gonna happen somehow. But I really had no why I wanted to be a doctor. And I finally reached out of my comfort zone. I was super interested in stem cell therapy because I heard of Peyton Manning, Kobe, Des Bryant, getting these bone marrow stem cell treatments to avoid surgery and get back to the field more quickly. So I finally was like, all right, Brent, it's time to put up or shut up. Like, let's actually see what a doctor does. So I emailed every single stem cell doctor in LA. And actually, one special doctor, I filled out a patient application form because I was like, you know what, this is how they get their patients, this is how they make money is through these applications. So I emailed or sent this patient application to my boss, Dr. Darrow. I was like, hey, Dr. Darrow, I'm super passionate about stem cell therapy. I've heard about all these athletes getting it. I have zero experience though, but I'm super passionate. I was wondering if I could intern with you under the summer and just be attached to your hip. And he replied in 6 minutes, I still have the email, with the letter U, letter R, welcome anytime. And I was like, holy crap, that was so easy. Like this well-known stem cell doctor just would give me a chance like that just to be in his office. And something really amazing happened during that summer. I was on my grind, basically. I got there when they opened, I left, was the last one to leave, and I learned about what actual research was. And I think to some of you in the medical field, not in the medical field out there, everyone thinks that stem cell research is you play with all these cells, you formulate all these groundbreaking discoveries overnight. At least that's what I thought. But research is extremely tedious work. It's like anything. You got to be on your grind. But during that 3-month period, I was able to develop this research department where we tracked all of our patient outcomes, seeing how they're feeling in different musculoskeletal conditions, kind of getting the minutia. But anyway, I got promoted to the director of research in 3 months without any prior experience, just because I worked hard. I became integrated into their stem cell family. I was connected with everyone. And I was able to go from really a camp counselor before this, that's what I did during my summers, to now the director of research at a stem cell therapy.
That's incredible. I mean, you were able to make that shift from literally having no experience to becoming an intern to being the director of stem cell research in a 3-month time period. That's incredible. And that proves your work ethic and your perseverance level. So many people don't understand that, you said every single stem cell doctor in LA with, I'm sure 99% of them didn't get back to you, and this one doctor did. And that's why you took that opportunity. And then you worked your ass off. You're the first one in the morning, the last one to leave. And it's that type of work ethic that truly creates success in our lives and allows us to get new opportunities. So, I really admire that about you, and I'm sure a lot of others do as well.
Yeah, and I think it's very easy for people out there to be like, well, Brent, like that was just lucky. Like you're just a lucky person. Like who gets that kind of opportunity? Well, I'm telling you guys, I'm from LA, so I've worked with celebrities, I've worked with world leaders. It has all been that exact same formula is reaching out of your comfort zone, blocking that little voice in your head, sometimes not little, sometimes very loud, that's telling you, oh, there's no way that this person's going to respond to me. Why even reach out? But what do you have to lose when you reach out?
So who are some of the, celebrities and world leaders that you've been able to work with, and in what capacity? In stem cell, or what other capacity?
So yeah, so an example of this is one of my mentors, Dr. Alan Mishra. He was really one of the founders um, of regenerative medicine and this type of this therapy. He's a professor at Stanford. Um, and my boss told me, he's like, well, why don't you reach out to him? Like I've seen him at conferences. He seems like a really nice guy. And I told him like, there's no way he's going to respond to me. I'm a nobody. So I initially sent him an email and just like, hey, Dr. Mishra, I'd love to learn from you. That's all. I would love to get on the phone and just pick your brain about the field and about your journey. He didn't get back to me. So I wrote him a letter, actually hand wrote him a letter, sent it to his office, didn't get back to me. Then I called his office, didn't get back to me. And then finally, a month after all that happened, he emailed me back and was like, hey, Brent, I've gotten all your stuff. Sorry, I've been super busy. You have 15 minutes to chat in the next 20 minutes. And I was like, holy crap. Yeah, I do. So what happened is we talked on the phone and we just clicked, and it was amazing. It's just one of those people who you just click with and everything kind of goes amazing. Um, and I asked him, I was like, I really love this conversation. Is there any way we could talk more? And he was like, I'll make you a deal. We could talk for 15 minutes every 2 weeks. And I was like, perfect. So 2 years later, um, we've talked 15 minutes for the last 2 years. I've been able to co-author an international regenerative medicine textbook chapter with him, read by doctors all over the world. Again, I don't have my doctorate. I just have my bachelor's in science. I'm on my way to medical school. Um, we're working on this kind of could be potentially groundbreaking COVID-19 project and all these other things that all stemmed from one email. And all you guys out there, I don't care if you forget my story. If you get one thing out of this podcast, is send an email to someone who you look up to. It could be the president of the United States. It could be just your local community leader. But you reaching out of your comfort zone just to learn from someone is going to exponentially jumpstart your success.
Yeah, man, I completely agree. And I think too many people are too familiar with being comfortable. And because of that, they're not okay with being uncomfortable. And you need to put aside that insecurity of what's going to happen if I reach out. And it's not even insecurity, it's ego. It's putting aside the insecurity, that ego, and saying, I have as much value, and sooner or later someone will respond to me. I mean, I've been in very similar situations with you. I've been able to connect with some of the top speakers in the world over the past few months. One of the top 50 speakers in 2020 is now one of my mentors, and he's given me some free material. And we hopped on a Zoom call a few weeks ago. I went on his podcast, and it stemmed from me sending him a DM on Instagram and connecting with him, and him responding. But it wasn't, he wasn't the first person that connected. I've connected with a couple others, but I've sent DMs to tons and tons of people like that, trying to get advice from them, trying to connect with them, trying to build a relationship. And sooner or later, if you send 100 messages, one of those people is going to respond to you. And then guess what? They're going to like you. They're going to connect you to someone else, and so on and so forth. You're going to go down that list of 100, and sooner or later, you're going to be talking to a few of them and several of them, and just going to keep going.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people, the reason why they don't reach out is they feel like they don't provide any value. They're asking for something. And I would say that you are providing value. You're providing so much value, because how do you think that person feels when they help you, when they bring you under their wing? How do you feel when you help someone or coach someone?
It's phenomenal. But the one thing that I've really learned, and this is good advice for really anyone, if someone agrees to help you, that's phenomenal. If they talk to you, they bring you on their podcast, they give you something for free. Whatever it is, they help you in some capacity. Don't just never talk to them again. Don't just, shoot them a thank you note later. First off, shoot them a thank you note a few hours later. It means a lot. But
Yeah.
then, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks later, send them a message and say, hey, thanks again for this. This really impacted me in this way. And I've learned these lessons from what you've done, and I've implemented this in my life because of X, Y, and Z, and be thoughtful. And I guarantee you, if you do that, they're going to help you in any way, shape, or form ever again. Like, no one's ever done that to me. I do that to people when I talk to them all the time. But if someone, sends me a thank you after I help them, and then 3 weeks later sends me a message explaining how it helped and how they've implemented it and what lessons they've learned, I'm going to be willing to help them a million more times because they actually did what I was telling them to do.
Yeah. And it's all about building that relationship. And relationships are really the key, especially when you're young. Any young people out there, success or achieving anything never happens alone. Everyone needs a mentor. Bill Gates had Warren Buffett. The list goes on and on and on. But just building those relationships. And then, like you said, if you never talk to that person again, send them an email. It could be a year later, but just rekindling that fire, because you never know what could happen down the road. You see them again, or something comes up and they think about you. It's so important. And like you said, I really like what you outlined there, because that's exactly what I do. But not just saying thank you, but giving specific details. Maybe you remembering something funny that they told you, or one of their kids' names, or their favorite sports team, is kind of kindling those connecting blocks between you guys. It's just going to form incredible relationships, and that's something that I've done as well.
So why stem cell research? You could have gone into any other field. What stood out with stem cell, and why have you made that your passion?
Well, I think stem cell medicine, just in general, is the future of the world. There's so many applications, and just kind of go over what a stem cell is. I think people, hear stem cell, and they don't actually know what it means. But basically, a stem cell is a cell that doesn't have a job, and it has the ability to morph into specific cell types that the body can't produce by itself. So let's say you tear your ACL. Let's knock on wood for all the athletes out there. Can your ACL just all of a sudden recombine after it's torn?
No.
No, exactly. So with more, and it can't exactly do that now, but we hope with more research, we can inject those stem cells into that torn ACL or into a neurodegenerative disease like Alzheimer's or ALS, to regrow those cells that the body can't regrow by themselves. So that kind of infinite potential of stem cells, just as a cell in general and as a research field, is something that's incredibly enticing to me.
That's awesome. Really interesting. And so, I know that your ambition and your goal is to end up becoming a doctor. Where does that stand? And are you in the process of that? Are you going to medical school right now? Are you going, a year from now? How's that going? And, where do you think that will lead?
Yeah, so I'm in the process of applying to medical school right now. And applying to medical school isn't like applying to any type of graduate or undergraduate program. A lot of these schools get 10,000 applications and they only take 100. So it's usually around a 1 to 2% admittance rate. And the average first year medical student is 25 years old. So anyway, but what I see myself in the future is I want to be a doctor, but I also, kind of like yourself, want to expand my horizons. So I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be a speaker. I want to be kind of involved in revolutionizing education. And I think being a doctor is incredibly powerful in doing all those things. Because when you're a doctor, you're forming extremely important relationships with your patients. You're at their bedside at their most vulnerable times, which is an incredible amount of responsibility, but it also has the potential to make incredible impact in their lives. So I can't imagine myself not being a doctor because of those reasons. But I also kind of want to transcend, a doctor clinician wise, because when we think doctor, we think, bedside clinician, into other avenues as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, in addition to that, I know you focused on saying you want to be a speaker, you want to be an entrepreneur and really help change a lot in the world. First off, that's incredible and amazing goals that you have there. I know right now you're doing a little bit of coaching. What is that circled around? How have you been able to impact people through that coaching, and what have you really been able to do with it?
Yeah, so right now, especially during COVID, traditional opportunities out there in business and in medicine are completely gone, right? If you're a student trying to study medicine, you can't just go volunteer in a hospital because it's very dangerous and it's very overcrowded out there. So what I help students do, and just anyone in general do, is find opportunities that they're passionate about and make an impact in that field. I try to help my students use social media, Zoom, to kind of formulate opportunities that they're passionate about. So an example is I had a student who went the community college route before going to undergrad. And during COVID-19, I helped her develop a program where she sets up weekly Zoom calls with these community college students, helping them transition into a four-year university much more quickly and much more easily. So that's just an example of making an impact and being creative, because like I said, COVID-19 has thrown everything in a loop. And if you're looking to kind of step up your business or step up your kind of self-improvement game, it's time to be creative and time to use kind of different modalities, like reaching out of your comfort zone, like finding mentors who can help you get to that next level. So that's kind of what my coaching has been developed around, and it's seen amazing results.
And what I really want to dig into, I know we were talking before this call a little bit about how you have done a lot of work with coaching maybe in underprivileged areas and really guiding kids through that. How has that, how have you done that? How has that impacted you personally? Because it sounds like it's really rewarding. And how have you seen the impact on others? Because I'm sure it's a shared feeling between you and the kids that you work with.
Most definitely. And so a little bit about my upbringing is I kind of come from that nuclear family. I grew up in a middle class area. I have two amazing parents. My family is really my everything and a lot of why I want to go into medicine. But as I started kind of going into the real world, you realize that not everyone has that. And there's a lot of students from especially disadvantaged communities who want to pursue medicine, but don't necessarily have the support or don't necessarily have the role models to be able to do that. And for me, to be that support system and to be that mentor for them, to help give them the resources and to help guide them, it's so important that, like in any leadership position, you're not doing the work for them. You're giving them the necessary cues and resources for them to do it for themselves. And it's so rewarding because I have a student, Carlos, who tells me all the time that, in his community, working at McDonald's and getting out, that's success to them, right? So if he has bigger goals of becoming a doctor and doing all these other things, well, people don't necessarily understand that and aren't supportive of that because he doesn't really have anyone in his community that can help guide him. So through my stem cell research lab, I was able to develop a mentorship program where I could, help students from those communities find their passion for medicine, find their passion for research. And it's so rewarding because for me, family is everything. And if I can help be that family and be that kind of comfort for them where they can just, if they're having any type of issue, they can come to me for support. That's really where my purpose kind of realigns.
No, that completely makes sense. And I truly believe that with hard work and the right mentors, anyone can accomplish any goal. There's nothing you can't do if you are willing to A, outwork everyone else in the country, and B, have someone who's able to support you, who's able to guide you along the way. Those are really two key components. And I promise you, anyone who's achieved success, no matter what profession is, whether it's the top speaker in the world, the top doctor in the world, the top attorney or business owner, whatever it is, they've outworked everyone else in their field, and they've had people who have guided them along the way. And those are two really important and crucial aspects to achieving success in this life.
Exactly. And I think what you said there, they're working hard, but they're working smart. And a lot of working smart and working efficient is surrounding yourself with people who have been there and who have done that. So
Yeah.
you can learn from their mistakes. You can learn from their successes So you're not just spinning your wheels and working hard, because really hard work is great, but if you're working hard in the opposite direction, it's pointless.
Yeah, and I'd like to dig in on that for a bit because, I'm also a believer in, you have to work hard and you have to work smart. Personally, I can't stand when someone just says, "Oh, don't work hard, work smart." I think that's honestly bullshit because, if you're working smart but you're not working hard, guess what? Someone who's working harder than you is going to outwork you eventually. That's my opinion of it. But I also believe you can't just work hard and not work smart, because what happens if you're working in the other direction? I think you need to find that combination of both, and you need to outwork everyone else, but you need to do it in a smart fashion. And, for example, for me with some of my tasks, there's some things I do that I can automate. And so, that's working smart, automating them so I don't need to do them as much. Or maybe bringing in another team member for what I'm doing for speaking so I don't need to do all the outreach. But, I'm still working hard in everything I'm doing, and I'm pushing myself to create all the content, to do podcasts like these to get my name out there. And I think it's really a combination of both. And I like that you touched on that, because it's not about just working hard or working smart. It's really the combination of both together.
Exactly. And kind of piggyback on what you said, we all have a certain cognitive load, which means we can only accomplish a certain amount of things in a day. We can only focus a certain amount of time, right? So like you said, we want to focus on highly effective tasks that we're passionate about. And it's sometimes more important to invest in bringing someone else on board who can do the kind of minutia and the things that still need to be done, but your hard work could be better served elsewhere, making a bigger impact. And I really like what you said about that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate that. And I love that you agree with me in that fashion. So, just kind of as we wind things up a little bit here, what else do you want to share with the listeners or the viewers, depending on where they're kind of seeing this podcast? But what else would you like to share? Where can people find you, and just any last words?
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram at The Real Student Mentor. But I kind of have a beef with social media and about motivation just in general, because I can post a motivational quote or I could post a success cartoon and it may get thousands of likes, but is that really going to change someone's life? No, it's not, right? If you are in a place where you don't want to be, the first important thing you need to do is to reevaluate and ask for help, right? And asking for help doesn't mean following Gary Vee on Instagram to help motivate you, because motivation is temporary, right? What happens when you're not reading those or listening to these motivational quotes or motivational videos, right? You're just going to fall into your bad habits. So it's really important you reach out, you send a DM, you send an email, you're finding people who can help you get to where you're going to be, because if you're struggling by yourself, it's your fault. If you're not actively seeking to improve yourself, actively seeking to find mentors, then it's all your fault. It's so important that you guys reach out of your comfort zones and just reach out for help, because again, no one gets to where they get alone. It's that combination of working hard and working smart and finding those people who can help you get there a little bit more quickly.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Well, awesome. Thanks so much for being here today, and really appreciate that. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you enjoyed it at all, if you got one thing out of it, we'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe, rate, and review. Thank you.